cause I'm a fool for your love.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you this really long-lasting, like sweat-proof, waterproof makeup look. This is perfect for this summer season because it is coming up and there's going to be a lot of really hot days, but a lot of times we have events and stuff that are outside, such as weddings, prom. If you're going to like an amusement park and you want your makeup to last all day and you might be getting wet, this would be a great look for that. If you are just going to an outdoor party, barbecue, if you are just going to be outside sweating and you, for whatever reason, you need, makeup on. I mean, you don't ever need makeup on, but, if you're like me, you like to look good, you like to have your makeup on. And that's just how it is. So if you want to know how to really make your makeup last all day and you want to learn some of my tips and tricks, then just keep watching. Alright you guys, so I did fill in my eyebrows already. I just did a brow tutorial. I will link it down below. Go check it out. It is a brow tutorial for people with sparse, thin eyebrows like myself. So I did fill my eyebrows in. If you want to have, sweat-proof and just long-lasting brows, I recommend using the least amount of product as you can, and use something that is long-lasting, like a pomade, a brow marker. Today I did use the Brow Wiz by Anastasia, but over that I used the Stila brow marker that I featured in my brow tutorial, and that is waterproof. Another little tip is you can run an eyeshadow primer over your brows, like a clear one like the Urban Decay, or even this one by Morphe, something clear. Just run a little bit over that and it's just going to help with the longevity of your products. So anyways, let's get started. So first things first is I'm actually going to spray my face with the setting spray. This is the Milani Make It Last setting spray. You can prime with this as well. So I'm going to start off by spraying this on my face. The spray of it's not the most fine spray. So once I spray that on, I'm just gonna pat it into my skin. And then we're gonna prime even more. So I'm gonna be using the No Pore Blend Primer by Touch in Soul. You can skip primer, but if you are like normal to maybe even dry skin, but I recommend using a primer if you're really oily or if you have combination skin. You are going to want something else on your skin that's going to prevent the oils from peeking through. But I recommend something like this, like a smoothing primer, Makeup Forever mattifying primer. Their smoothing primer is also good, Makeup Forever. Cover FX just came out with a bunch of primers, so you're going to want to use a good primer. But this one is one that I know works, and it does really smooth out my skin. I'm like scraping out the bottle, so yeah, if you haven't tried this, check it out. It's a really good primer. So I'm just going to smooth this on the areas that I tend to get oily, which is basically my T-zone. And I'm really just going to rub this in. This feels really nice on the skin. It does really smooth out the skin and it just makes it feel, I like that it doesn't make it feel dry, because some primers that are like mattifying or pore filling can make you feel your skin feel like tight. This just makes it feel really silky and actually even like moisturized, but it does like smooth out and mattify the skin. I'm really making sure I'm getting around these areas right here, like in the crease of the nose, because those areas tend to like crease up, especially if you're sweating or, you just have your makeup on for a long period of time. Okay, the next step is foundation. So I'm going to be using the L'Oreal Freshwear 24-Hour Foundation. This is my ride or die foundation. I've been using this the last couple months and I really haven't stopped. Occasionally I'll try something else, but I always go back to this. I just feel like it lasts the best on my skin and I get really oily. I wear these I wear this on days that I do weddings, so I'm up, you know, sometimes at 5:15 in the morning putting on my makeup, and I don't wash it off till late that night usually, and my skin is still looking good with this foundation. It is a really good, long-lasting foundation. I feel like you could even possibly get away with it even if you have dry skin. It doesn't really dry down to like a really dry mattifying foundation. It does stay like fresh looking, but not oily or super dewy. Like, I just absolutely love this foundation, and it is way better than a lot of high-end foundations that I've tried. It's just the best long-lasting foundation I have tried. I use the shade 460. I'm not sure what the actual shade is called, but yeah, it's the number 460, something beige, I think it's called. But I absolutely love this. It lasts so long, and I really, like, if I want my makeup to last, this is what I'm using. But yeah, I've been using this like on a daily basis. I like to apply this with a brush. That's just the way I like it. But first, I'm just gonna like rub some on my face just to get some product on there, and then I'll go in with the brush. They have a really good shade range in this foundation as well. So if you have trouble, if you're one of those people that have trouble finding your shade, check out this range because they have a lot of different shades. So I'm just using a regular kabuki brush, and I'm just gonna push this into the skin. Now, of course, if you are going to be wearing your makeup for a really long time and you could possibly be sweating or getting wet in some way, you're going to want to use something that isn't cakey. And this foundation is not cakey. It's very liquidy, so it's not going to cake up in certain areas. You don't want to use something super thick because then you're just going to feel it, and it's just going to not feel good in the heat, and you're just going to feel gross. This never feels cakey to me. So yeah, you're gonna want, even if you don't use this foundation, you're gonna want to use something that is more on the liquidy side and not so like thick and, I don't know, like, yeah, you just don't want something really thick. In the hard to reach areas, I am going to just go over them with a beauty sponge just to absorb any extra products. I'm going to go a little bit heavier right here because I feel like this is an area that does tend to wear down, especially if you're going to be like hugging people and saying hi to people. This area does tend to kind of wear down quickly, especially, like I said, if you're hugging somebody, you know. Now we're going to go in with concealers. So today I'm going to be using the Jouer High Coverage Essential Concealer in Creme Brulee, and then I'm also going to be using the L'Oreal Fullwear Infallible Concealer in, what shade? Vanilla, 335 Vanilla. So I'm going to apply this one first, since it's a little bit darker. It's going to kind of cancel out any darkness, and then this one after that. You're going to want to use any kind of concealer that is like known for its lasting power, like Tarte Shape Tape. This L'Oreal one. This one is really good as well. What other ones? I think Tarte has a couple different like long-lasting concealers. NYX, the Can't Stop Won't Stop concealer. To be honest, like, even though I love Maybelline Fit Me concealer, that doesn't last as long. Or like the Flower Beauty concealer doesn't last as long as something like this or the Shape Tape will. So you're going to want to use something that is known for its lasting power. I am going in between the brows, right down the nose, right here and right here as well, just to really ensure that those areas don't break up. I want to add a little bit more product there. And then I'm going to go in with the L'Oreal, and I'm just going to highlight with this one, just right underneath the eyes. This is just going to help brighten that under eye area. Now, I personally like to let my concealer sit for a second before I blend it in. That just makes it a little bit more full coverage. And I don't know, it lasts a little bit better when you do that. Now, be careful because you can't do that with every concealer, because some concealers are really quick drying and you're gonna have a really hard time blending them out if you let them sit. But I find with those two concealers, I can let them sit a little bit and it's never an issue with blending. I am gonna blend out though the center of my face because I am gonna blend out the center of my face first. And I'm just using my beauty sponge. Love concealer. Like, it just makes such a difference. Honestly, concealer is like a game changer. Okay, now you're going to want to cream contour. So I recommend using a cream base when it comes to contouring and bronzing. And then you could go over it with your contouring powders and bronzers. I recommend this just because having that cream base and then the powder on top is just gonna make it last that much longer. If you just use powder on top of your foundation, over the day it is going to kind of fade. So I recommend working in layers. It's just gonna last that much longer. So I am going to be using the L'Oreal Another Infallible products. I didn't realize how many L'Oreal Infallible products I was using. This is their foundation stick, and this also has sunscreen in it as well, SPF 27. So if you are going to be out in the sun, this is a good thing to wear. And this is in the shade Cocoa 410. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm just going to run it on my brush. Like, I'm not going to put it directly on my face. I'm just going to get it on my brush. I'm going to kind of get it on the back of my hand just to make sure that it's not going to be super crazy when I hit my face with this. Not hit my face, touch my face with this. So I'm just going to run this along the cheekbones, into the temples. This product is really easy to blend, so I do really love it for that. Ooh, I really like this brush for contouring, cream contouring. I've never used it for that, but it works really nicely. So yeah, you're just gonna wanna bring it along the hairline, basically all the areas that you would typically contour. I'm just gonna go in with my beauty sponge and just make sure that everything's blending into each other and there's not like a distinct difference between the highlight areas and the contour areas. Okay, now it is time to set your foundation, concealer, everything. And this is gonna be the step that kind of makes or breaks your makeup. This setting is so important when it comes to the staying power of your makeup. If you want your makeup to last, you're gonna have to do some baking. So let's get started. I'm gonna be using the Huda Beauty powder in Sugar Cookie. I really do like this powder. I use it in my freelance kit as well, and I just feel like it really does help the makeup last. Anytime I bake with this powder, I notice, especially underneath my eyes, my under eye concealer does not budge at all. So I really, really like this. They have tons of shades in this, but I use the Sugar Cookie one. This is the lightest one, but it is like translucent, so it's not gonna actually make your under eye like super, super light. It does a little bit of brightening, but not like over the top. So I'm gonna be using this. I'm just gonna get some out into the cap. So before I set underneath my eyes, I'm just gonna go ahead and run my finger underneath there just to make sure that there's not any creasing. I'm gonna take a powder puff. This one is by Inglot, but any kind of powder puff will do. I'm gonna pick up the powder, like so. And I'm just going to evenly put that underneath my eyes. I'm gonna warn you, this powder does have a scent, but I actually like the scent. I feel like it smells nice. Also, it is going to instantly tighten that under eye area. It will feel kind of tight, but I don't mind that. When I do use this on like brides and stuff, I do kind of warn them like it is going to feel a little bit tight because I don't want them to think that's how it's going to feel like all night. It's just really while it's sitting there. I'm going to then bring this on the chin. I'm going to bring it down my nose because that is an area that does tend to get oily on me. And in between my brows is another area that tends to kind of oil up on me. I'm also going to put some on the sides of my nose because that is an area that does tend to break up on a lot of people. And then we're gonna go underneath our contour. And you may have powder all over yourself by the end of this, but it's okay. Anything to look good, right? So by baking this area, not only are you cleaning up the contour, but you're also really gonna set this area. I always tell my brides, because I've had brides like ask me like, oh, why do you do that? And it's really because like if you're gonna be like hugging people and saying hello to people, like let's say you're going to a wedding and you're gonna see a lot of people, you don't want that makeup to transfer there when you hug somebody. You want it to stay in place. This area does tend to transfer also because sometimes we go like this, we put our hand on our face, you know, we're touching our face, whatever. So this is really an important area to really lock in, but it also is gonna help clean up that contour. So once you look like this, you're gonna let this sit for, I would say at most 5 minutes. You don't need to let it sit more than that. So while I am baking, I'm actually going to go ahead and use my MAC Give Me Sun bronzer, and I'm going to set my cream contour with this. Okay, so now it is time to dust off the bake. If you want, you could like do your eye makeup and let this sit there even longer, but I don't like to let it sit for too long because you don't want to be cakey. So I'm just going to take a little Real Techniques brush and just start very lightly wiping this away. You do not want to be harsh with this because you don't want to disrupt the makeup that you did underneath, like the cream products. You just want to be very light and just slowly dust it away, and you'll see it kind of just puff away into the air. Spray my face again with setting spray. By the way, this is a good setting spray, but if you want some other recommendations for good setting sprays, the Urban Decay All Nighter Spray, Skindinavia Bridal Spray is really good, Model in a Bottle, Ben Nye Final Seal will literally seal your makeup. Like, it is sticky when you like spray it on your hands, but yeah, that stuff is serious. So yeah, those are just a few setting sprays that I recommend, but I'm just gonna spray my face real quick. So for blush, there's really no trick to like make it last super long. I just use regular blush for this step. So yeah, I'm just gonna apply a blush by Anastasia. And I like to pat my blush on, just because I feel like it just like pushes it into the skin and it doesn't disrupt the makeup underneath. And you may want to apply just a little bit more blush than you usually would, just because blush does tend to fade, especially if you're oily. It just kind of, your skin will just kind of like eat the blush up. And lately I have been taking a little bit of whatever blush I use and just running it over the bridge of my nose. I just feel like it gives me like a sun-kissed kind of look, which I really like. So now time for highlight. My only trick for making the highlight not only look more bright, but also make it last longer is I actually spray my brush with a setting spray first. So I just get it kind of damp with a setting spray. I'm going to be using the MAC Silver Dusk Loose Powder. I've been loving this highlight. I use it in my kit as well. I actually transferred a bunch of this into another container because there's so much highlight in here. I was like, okay, I feel like I'm never gonna get through this, so I split it up and I put a little bit in my kit and then I use it as well. I will say you don't want to go too crazy with the highlight. I know that's hard for some people, but you don't want to go too crazy because you don't want, in case you do get oily, you don't want to look even more oily than you actually are. So I would avoid putting it on your chin, your upper lip, your nose, like any area that could possibly get a little bit oily, because then you're just gonna look, like I said, more oily than you actually are. So I'm just gonna apply it on my cheeks. Okay, now time for eyes. So for eyes, I'm actually going to prime them first with Morphe eyelid primer. Using some sort of eyelid primer is going to help your eyeshadow just last a little bit longer. It's going to help with creasing and fading. So for my lids, I'm going to keep it pretty simple. So I'm just taking a face powder. You could use any face powder that you want, and I'm just going to run this over my eyelids. This is going to help set that primer that we use in case it's like kind of tacky. But it's also going to add just a little bit of color to your lids. So I'm just putting it all over my lid and then up into my crease. Okay, so if you are an eyeshadow person and you like to have a little something on your lids, I am going to recommend using a gel liner as your base. So this one is by Inglot, and it's a beautiful like champagne shimmery color. So this is what it looks like. You can use a MAC paint pot, anything that's creamy that sets down, because that's really going to help the eyeshadow stay. So I'm just going to take this on like an eyeshadow brush. You don't have to use like a flat concealer brush or anything, because we don't want this to be like a cut crease. We kind of just want to use like a regular eyeshadow brush to get it on the lid. We don't need to be like really precise with it. So I'm just going to apply this on my lid. I'm just going to literally pat it in that area. And this is going to act as a base. We are going to put an eyeshadow on top of it, but by having that liner on there, it's just going to really help the eyeshadow really stay in place. And these Inglot liners are really long lasting, so this is really going to help with your makeup lasting all day. Now I'm just going to take any kind of eyeshadow that you like, but I'm going to take this color here from the Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette, because it's very similar to the eyeshadow base that we just used. So I'm just going to apply that on top. So if you want to add a little bit of color into your crease, that's totally fine. I would use your bronzer and just dust that into your crease. Honestly, I would recommend skipping liner if you can, but I know certain people can't go without liner. I definitely like a little bit of definition on my eyes. So I'm going to be using another version of the Inglot Gel Liner, but this is their black one in number 77. This stuff is really long lasting. There's a lot of great waterproof eyeliners out there. I actually just got the Ico. It's one of their waterproof liners, which is really good, but this one does pretty much stay in place. So I'm just going to do a really thin line across the eye, and I think I'm going to smudge it out. So I'm just going to take a little smudger brush and a dark brown eyeshadow, and I'm just going to smudge out the line that we just did. I just don't want anything too harsh. So, I mean, you could totally like keep it like a precise line, but yeah, I just kind of am feeling the smudged out look today. I'm going to take whatever's left on this brush and just kind of run it on the lower lash line, just because I like a little something on the lower lash line. I don't need it to be like super dark down there. I just need a little something. And I'm one of those people that has to highlight their inner corner, so I'm just going to take the lighter shades from the Jaclyn Hill palette and just highlight the inner corner. Now, some may say I'm a little extra, and you know what? I probably am, but I am going to apply lashes. You could totally just wear mascara. However, if you are going to be going to an event or something, and like I said, you want your makeup to be done and look good, but you want it to last, I still recommend using lashes, but that's just me. So you are going to want to use a good lash glue. So I'm going to be using the Callus lash glue, which I think is really good, but also the House of Lashes. That stuff is no joke. That stuff really stays on. So I'm going to be using these lashes by Amazon. They're by the brand called Arsense, and yeah, I'm just going to apply these real quick off of camera, and then we'll come back, finish off the face and the lips. And so I'm back. I put my lashes on. I feel so much better now that I have some lashes. Like I said, that's a personal choice. You could totally use just waterproof mascara if you have good lashes, but I don't. So we're gonna put on some fake lashes. So now moving on to lips, obviously you're gonna wanna use like something that is meant to be long lasting, like a liquid lipstick. And then if you're a gloss person like me, you could always apply gloss on top, and if the gloss wears off, at least you still have some color, you know what I mean? But I'm gonna go in with the Morphe lip liner in Bite Me. The Dose of Colors liquid lipstick in Knock on Wood. I personally love Dose of Colors liquid lips. I feel like they're really comfortable. For me, I'm not a huge liquid lip wearer because I just don't find them to be comfortable, but this formula is pretty nice. So you could totally keep your lips like this and stop with the liquid lipstick. And I like this. I think that it's a really pretty color. However, I don't like the feeling of matte liquid lips by themselves when I'm like hot and sweaty. I don't know. I just feel like my lips are suffocating. So I need a little something on my lips, a little gloss. So I'm going to be using the Maybelline Vivid Hot Lacquer in shade Unreal. But what I like about this is it is really long lasting for a lip gloss. It has a lot of color payoff, and it's glossy but not too glossy. Like it really does stay in place. So I recommend using something like this rather than just like a MAC lip gloss or something like that. So I'm just going to apply this on top. And it's really similar to the shade of the liquid lipstick that we use. So it's just going to add a little bit of shine more than anything. So that is it for the makeup. I'm going to spray my face again with setting spray just to really lock everything in. So that is it for the makeup. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.